Hey, we are here with Joey Diehl. We are at Amherst Bank in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Yep. Let's
What
do
do
it.
you do, Joey?
I mix front of house.
You do mix
amongst
front
other
of house.
things. Yeah.
Who do you mix front of the house for?
Brett Young.
Brett Young.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
It's been fun.
Okay.
It's been good.
So let me ask you this: did you just all of a sudden decide just to start running sound? All of a sudden now you're running sound for Brett Young. What got you into this whole world? Because I see a beautiful console here, a lot of amazing outboard gear, which we'll get to in a second. But what I want to learn is kind of about you and how you got into sound, how you got into Brett Young. So if you could start me off, how did you get into sound?
Well, I know I was playing in bands. It's that same classic, I think, story of everybody plays a guitar, and I was playing a ton and was in a few metal bands and rock bands and stuff like that. And I think I just got more interested in what the other guy was doing with, with the guy on the board. The guy was out there. It was always, I think I was fortunate. All those guys were really cool. When I was growing up, because they were all like willing to talk, willing to be like, yeah, man, stand over here, let me show you what you're doing. This is how you can sound better, you know?
That's funny because most people think the people on the stage are cool, but you're like, yeah, no, you over there.
Yeah, no. It got to a point, I think there was the last time that I was really like with a band that I had like written music for. I was more interested in being out front, being like, but I need it to be, why did I record this stuff? It's not going to sound like that, you know? Like, why are we here, you know? Like,
Yeah.
So I got more interested in that, and then eventually I went to school for just being in a studio, which turned out that that's not really a job that pays that much anymore. So I was like, I'm going to go on the road. And
Where'd you go to school?
App State.
Okay.
Great recording program, one of the best, I think.
Okay.
I'm biased, but no, I did that, and then I immediately went out as a shop guy, just working in production houses and
Okay.
going out on tour, flying PA, doing all that stuff, and then eventually here I am.
Where was the what production house?
Special Event Services.
And where was that?
They're based in North Carolina.
Okay.
It's pretty big. They're one of the majors, I think.
Oh, cool.
And they're awesome. They gave me a lot of opportunities, and
Okay.
really great.
Did you work your way up to front of house? Did you start anywhere else, or did you?
Yeah.
What was your path and your trajectory
I was
to?
a PA tech.
Okay.
I did system engineering like a few times
Okay.
whenever I got the chance, my career path was going to be a system engineer full time, but there was a few bands that were asking me to go out with them, and
Yeah.
Brett was really just at a right place at a right time where it literally not only worked out. I mean, I've been with him for like years.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like lucky stories.
So I know you're telling me this a little bit beforehand, but your father was in the military, and he was pretty high ranking in the military, and you had almost your trajectory to, in a way, almost follow in his footsteps for it.
Yeah.
What made you really want to say, no, I want to go more towards running sound, or that? Because for some people, that's kind of a risk. And I'm sure there's some people watching that want to do this, but are nervous about taking that kind of risk. It's a risk nonetheless,
It's a
especially
risk
for
nonetheless.
a paved pathway like
Right,
you may
yeah.
have had.
I think, but the thing is you have to think, what isn't a risk at this point? I think at this moment of time with our society and everything, like, I think taking risk is just like, it's now you have to,
Yeah.
in all regards.
Yeah.
Being in the military is now a risk too. Like, any type of job, going into college is now a risk. Like, it's just, I feel like this is also a risk. You just have to pay your dues and do the right thing, which I think is a really big one, is go to a production company, knock on their door and be like, I will work in your shop. I don't know any production company that's not really kind of hurting for people in their shop, right? So start working in a shop, because eventually if you're not a terrible person and you're easy to go, you'll be like, oh, this guy's great with clients, or this guy, is smart enough to know where to plug things in, we're putting him on a gig. And then there you go.
That was actually my next question, is for people who are watching this who are newer in the game or don't even know if they want to be there, what advice would you give to them, or maybe even yourself starting off, to be able to sit in this position?
I would have done it sooner. I would have, I would be.
And what would you have
further
done
along.
sooner? Just going to a production house?
Going to a production house and starting to get into the realm. So when I was studying guitar, one of my things that my teacher really pushed on me was learn the history. And I remember being like, I don't want to learn old guitar players. He goes, no. What happened when you learned the history was you learned who's playing the game now.
Yeah.
Not right. You learned who is around you now. You know what who are the guys playing guitar around you now,
Yeah.
and what's the whole like culture. And I don't know why, but like that stuck with me later on when I started to realize, oh, dude, there's like a high school worth of people who are engineers that I really wish I would have started being friends with them earlier. And people that I'm out with right now, like the engineer I'm out with right now that's doing the headliner, he's an amazing dude. And there's so many other people that are amazing guys. And I'm like, man, I wish I could have met you guys earlier. Like, that's the thing. That's the one thing I would tell myself, dude, just do it earlier,
Who are some of the people that you look up to in the industry right now? Who are kind of your mentors, like, I want to be in that?
I mean, people I want to be like, the classics. I mean, Toby Francis, Pooch, Rabel, all those guys. Guys I respect are people that I've just been around a lot. I mean, Nashville has sizable amount of respectable engineers that are all baller. I mean, there's really a very few that I'm like, don't like.
Yeah.
And that's how they all are. That's
Yeah.
somehow, Nashville is just a culture of bring your friends up, you know, not just that engineers, but musicians too. They're all like, bring your friends up, you know.
Yeah.
Brett's the same way, my artists, a lot of artists are the same way. They get a deal, they're picking all their friends to go with them first, right? Like, they're making sure that if you've helped me, I'm gonna help you. That's the kind of mentality. So, and I really like that.
You talk about the history, especially with the history of sound. I look at this board, and it is almost the pinnacle of technology right now. So, did you start off on digital? Did you start off in analog? Where did you start off on?
I started off in digital in school with a couple of analog consoles. I ended up being the studio manager of my school, and I had to build some of the analog studios. And when I realized how much a pain in the ass that was, I liked it, but it was hard.
Yeah.
And so I like the gear, and there's things that it can do, and obviously like mixing in studios and Pro Tools, and there's things you realize like, oh, analog, this and that, digital. What it comes down to is I have a lot of things I have to control at once. It would scare me if I didn't have it like boiled down to one button I can press.
Yeah.
That would, I mean, there's like, how many things you want to, like, the artist is like, well, I want this guitar change, this tuning change, this whatever change. You're like, all right, well, I hope I have a good digital desk that can just be like, we're good. Like, if I was on an analog console, I'd be like, this is a whole different landscape, right? So I like the toys. I like the way they sound. There's very specific things that very, like, few things do, and I'm very into that, and I like exploring those little avenues and trying things out and everything. But when it comes to the control, like, it's got to be a digital desk, and I mean, Digico is one of the greats. Yamaha's. I mean, there's so many great companies now that do so many good things. It's just like, what do you want to do? What do you need to do? What do you want to do?
I want to ask you about the desk, but before I get to that, I want to backtrack a little bit to your artist now. How'd you get with your artist now?
He was one of the openers on one of the tours. I was flying PA, and I was always mixing the openers, like monitors, not even front of house. And he happened to be in the right place at the right time where he was like, I can hire my first tech.
Yeah.
Do you want to come out with me? And I was like, yeah, man. Like, I literally actually didn't have a tour lined up. Like, I was just going to go back to the shop and keep working on whatever. And I was like, I'll go out with you, which was a cultural shock for me. I was literally on like arena tours and stadiums. And he was like, here's my one bus and one trailer. You're by yourself. Yeah. And I was like, this is a whole different experience. And I'm glad I did it because it not only taught me a lot, but I think it allowed me to like find who I was. Yeah. But it was cool. And then here I am, like, years and years.
I think one thing that someone told me that resounds even still is that luck favors the prepared. And it's, right place, right time, but also having the ability to give them what they need at that time too.
That's good. Yeah.
So it seems like you were kind of in that little
lucky.
trifecta.
Yeah, it was lucky.
That happened.
Yeah, I was lucky. He was lucky. We were all just happened to look at each other at the same time and go, "We doing this?"
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about the gear back here.
Yeah,
You've got a beautiful Digico. Did you start off with the Digico? Why the Digico?
No, we started off in Midas. I was a Pro 2 guy for a while, and then I went to Pro X.
Is it based upon availability, budget?
I liked the sound of the Midas because it was the closest thing to analog that I could find at the time, before I had any toys or whatever. And then before Yamaha was like really, really kicking. But no, Digico now, it's more my monitor guy. He needs macros like no other, right? He needs to be able to do things so quick. Yeah. So it was more of like, I'll just stick with him if he's going to be a Digico guy. Like, I can do something else, but let's just keep the rack small. Let's not do splits. Let's do all that stuff. So I got the 338 because I was just lucky that, again, SES was like, hey, we got one. Yeah. I was like, great, I'll take it. It's literally brand new, and within like a week, I was like, yeah, this is my desk. Nobody's taking this from me. Like, I love this thing. It's powerful. It does everything. It's very kind of daunting sometimes how much it does.
How much native are you running in there? And obviously we have a couple things back here. Are you running anything native on the desk?
Yeah, I have all the mustard. I think for the 338 in this version right now, it's 38 or 36 instances of mustard. Okay. I run them all. And then not much else. Okay. Just channel stuff. Like, the dynamics are really good. Okay. Really good for controlling certain things. But when it comes to tonality, I try to use outboard. When it comes to summing, I use outboard. When it comes to like bus processing, I use outboard. Okay. A lot of my effects are outboard. Okay.
Walk me through the gear. What are you rocking and where does it go into?
Yeah, I have
a lot of Rupert Neve in here.
A lot of Rupert Neve.
Yep.
I have the 5045s for gating, classic. Everybody's just trying to get that cleaner vocal whenever.
Okay.
I have a split system on Brett's vocal. I've kind of found this thing with parallel compression where it's not so much you're doing parallel compression for the normalcy of like different tones, or whatever. I'm compressing each of them the same way, full range, because what I found, I feel like my friends who watch this are gonna be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" What I found is like, the SPL or the like average dB is like doubled,
Okay.
but the noise floor has also doubled, right?
Okay.
But when a noise floor like when you think about it logarithmically is so low,
Yeah.
that doubling is very little versus the SPL of the vocals doubled up, right? So I've got 6 dB louder on the vocal when I've put these two things together, but I've only gotten 2 dB more noise. So it's like a way for me to get louder and louder and louder without the background noise.
Yep.
So I have those two parallels, which I mean, eventually I might even add a third to try to get a little bit more, but it's definitely boosted my vocal to where I can get more volume out of him. Plus, analog, I just have more headroom. They just physically have more headroom. So that's why I have the Bluey and the Distressor both on this vocal, and they're both just full range. Not full range. I have like a little bit of EQ going in before them just to clean it up. And then I have 500 series, bunch of stuff in there, tuning, headphones. I have a kick channel. I love the Empirical Labs stuff is amazing. I got the snare, which I have a 5045 before the Empirical Labs.
Okay.
De-esser, another Neve compressor on the bass that goes into the SSL channel, which that combo is ridiculous. And then I have the Alicia on the strings on my whole string bus.
Okay.
Just to give it some color and some drive.
Sure.
Strings really like saturation, so that's just a saturation unit. It's really nice. And then the rest of it's just for tuning. My interface.
Okay.
I got my other rack.
See a lot over here too?
Yeah, I have the keys.
Okay.
I have the compressor on the keys, which is amazing. It's a piece I just got from my friend Danny. Super awesome. The Fusion, I tried that on the master bus for a little bit. It's like a little too crazy for me. So
Why is that?
it's just the drive is a little like it's too powerful for me.
Okay.
The high frequency compressor is a little too powerful for me. The EQ is too powerful for me.
Does its job too well?
It does its job too well. It's like too polished.
You say it's more surgical, or it's more?
It's more of a kick in the ass, I think, where it's not surgical. It's just like here's a kick to the face. Like, so I tried doing the Michael Brower thing where his BGV bus or like his effects and BGVs go through the same thing, and he has this crazy stereo
background
widener.
vocals for.
Oh yeah. Background vocals. He does this crazy stereo widening thing, and I use a high frequency compressor on that. I have drive, and it makes my effects and my BGVs just like nothing, which is crazy because I would think the main vocals what I would do that on, but the main vocal sits on top because of the side chaining thing I do, but then the BGVs and the effects just like float in the whole mix, and they don't ever get stepped on, and then I can just focus on the power of everything else.
That's awesome.
So it's really cool. And then snare reverb through the Yamaha.
Okay.
I have the overstayer
on there, or what do you?
Yeah, the bright snare.
Okay.
It's so standard. It's literally the oldest preset of all time. It was probably made before I was. I don't know if that's true or not, but overstayer MAS.
Okay.
Baller unit. It's crazy cool. It's just literally an analog channel, like a chain. It's just it's not even a description of what it does. It goes, here's a chain. You're like, great, I'll take it. And then Boris makes these creamliners up in Canada, and he's a genius, and it's just incredible sounding. It's a saturation box that just sounds amazing. The Burl is a conversion back from the whole summing amp, and then all the summing amps is just everything except for the lead vocal.
Okay.
Everything gets summed except for the lead vocal. I have that outside of it because the return I sidechain the lead vocal too, so I get to keep him kind of like present and like sitting on top while everything else can push him against them, and I don't have to turn him up incredibly loud or whatever. So. Yeah. And then the only other thing outside of that is the 2-bus. I have the SPL Mercury doing conversion. The NG bus comp is my bus compressor. I had to have the mag going afterwards for that air lift, which I swear I didn't start with the air that high, but every month I just click it one more up, and it just keeps going. It keeps going. I'm like, well, it sounds good, more. So I just keep doing it. So eventually just be max. You guys will all judge me. And then the NBC, which the NBC's, that's Neve's best piece in my opinion. It's crazy. It's good. It's nuts. If anybody would have said that I was going to use a limiter live, I would have kicked them in the face. But here I am, using it extensively. I get like 6 dB gain reduction sometimes on the snare. So, and then there's a master clock, the Lakes that are driving, the PA. That Opticore DD2 FX is just like putting everything in the loop. Is how I get everything in. And then my UAD live racks for I don't have that much plugins. Like I
Okay.
don't do that much.
What are you
reverbs.
rocking in plugins right now?
Reverbs.
You said you got some. Yeah, you showed me some. Can you tell me the reverbs you got running right now?
It changes per song. I liked all the classic UAD stuff, like the 140 plate,
Okay.
the 250, the precision stuff. I use a bunch of the precision stuff. The pure plate, that's great too.
There's one you mentioned as kind of your secret sauce. What was
So on the band return, I have the V3 digital
Yep.
EQ that allows me to EQ in mid-side. And it's such a secret weapon. I feel like,
Why
because
is
there's
that?
multiple times, because it can notch so well in just side or in middle. Imagine, like, there's been rooms where every other engineer or festival or something where everybody has a ring around the same frequency and
Yep.
they can't find it. I can solo it up, be like, oh, it's 63 right in the middle, and it doesn't affect anything else. And everybody's like, how is your mix tight?
Now
And
there's
nobody
your
else's. And I'm
surgical.
like, there it is. Like, and I really only use it for that. I don't use it for like big. It's just to be like, where's a problem that I can try to fix and mitigate. It's been fun. And there's a curve bender there too for the band.
Well, let me ask you this. You get called for a fly date. You can only take two of these with you. Which two do you take?
I actually only take two things with me.
Okay.
I take an Apollo, like the full analog, or not the X16, so I
Yep.
can do multiple ins and outs because I can do like my artist's vocal chain and maybe something else like a master bus chain.
Okay.
And then I take the 5045.
Easy.
And that's what when we do Europe and everything like that, I just take those two things. So I'm like, well, I can have a master bus and I can have a vocal that doesn't feedback. I think we're
Okay.
gonna be like everything else is like whatever desk we have, like whatever happens. So it works out. I want to take more. It's really humbling when I tour with this for 6 months and you're like, and here's a flight date. And you're like, oh,
Sure.
how do I do this?
Sure.
And then I come back to my desk and I'm like, well, let me change 9 things now because
Yeah.
I realized what I was doing wrong. So yeah, it's good. Toys are great. It's easy to get lost in it. I've
Yeah.
taken a lot of time to like take step backs and figure things out. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's straightforward. It's easy.
Let's talk about this run a little bit. How many inputs you running?
To be honest, I forgot. I
Okay.
don't know. My monitor guy knows. Stuff changes often.
Okay.
Like 80, almost 90,
Oh,
something
wow.
like
Quite a few redundant.
that. No,
Okay.
not actually that much. Now that I say it out loud.
Okay.
Should be
Now,
more, but
one of the questions I know people want to know is with your drums. What are you
Yeah.
doing for your drums? Talk to me about the mics. Are you doing triggers? Are you doing samples?
we
What
do
are you
triggers
doing?
on all the toms.
Okay.
For
Is that
gating.
for okay?
Yeah, for gates, which is
Because you're all ears, correct? There's
Yeah.
no okay.
It's all ears, no
Okay.
wedges. There's not even crowd mics on our stuff. The guys just don't want them.
Okay.
They're always complaining they want less. So it's like,
Yeah.
why would we add crowd mics?
There's a lot of artists that they have a lot of noise going on there, and they want to be able to use the gate for
Yeah.
all the stage noise. But
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. The tom mics were having the gates on that was crucial. It's
What
so
mics are you using
so
up
nice.
there?
Beta 98s.
okay,
I think we're Shure endorsed, but it's not only that. It's that we really like the Shure mics. I mean, almost everything is a Shure mic. I think there's very few things that are not. All wireless is Axient.
cool.
Preamps, we do have the Neve RMPs,
Okay,
which we use for vocals and drums. And honestly, that was a crazy enhancement already because the Digico 32-bit cards sound incredible. They are really actually incredible. But I think the one thing in the world that beat it for me was the RMP, which is it sounds like an analog pre. It sounds like a Midas desk or like an
Yeah.
older analog desk. The depth, the width, the size, like the slew, the transient, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Like actually, I never really believed in anything. And then you hear it and you're like, oh, all right, no, I get it.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I get it now. I know these words. No, so yeah, man. It's good stuff. The drums, underheads. we
what
got those,
capsules are you using?
for vocals?
Yeah.
Mostly KSM9, the hyper ones.
Okay.
I think there might be, my drummer might have 58 instead,
Okay.
just because he only sings 1 or 2 songs, and it sounds really good on him.
Okay.
We like the super tight. Again, like little noise. They all
Sure.
sing on the mic, and then I have a 5045, and it's like, sometimes depending on space, my stage right player has been like next to the drum set, and you can't. It's
Wow.
like you can't hear anything. It doesn't
Wow.
bleed, and it's like that's crazy because he's on it. He's loud, and then gain down. We have the RMPs, which have so much like depth.
Yep.
And then I have 5045, and it's like doesn't matter.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. He's next to drum set. Like
Yep.
it really doesn't. So.
So let's talk about the PA. Your direct support for this one. What PA are you using?
This is DNB KSL, and I
Okay.
think XSL, the newer box.
Now you said you take this when you do headline. You take
Yeah.
the same rig out.
Same.
What's your thoughts on the rig? Why this
Love
rig?
it. It's the directionality is really the biggest part.
Okay.
My artist, as soon as he found out you didn't have to have low end on stage, he was like, "What do we not? Why are we? Why would we use anything else?" No. So that was a terrible thing for him to learn because now we're not allowed to use anything else. Yeah, he loves that. Directionality is the biggest thing. Yes, it sounds great. What box doesn't sound great at this point? You know, what SE isn't good at this point? There's a lot of good guys. The difference with this one is cardio is just in it. It's just built like that, and it's designed from the start to have cardio. So it's like, it's just a no-brainer for us.
Yeah.
And it's powerful. We don't have to take that much. Fits better in the truck. I mean, it's powerful, and it really throws. Out here, they have flown subs, and there's a lot of comments that were like, "You have kick drum, like literally at the back." I mean, and that's our SE. Joe Henson is great. He's good. He's
That's
really
awesome.
good. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Soundcheck. Tuning. How do you approach soundcheck? How do you approach tuning? Are you a white noise? Is there a song that you like? Do you do both? Do you just white glove it and sleep in the bus until it's done and then walk out?
Well, I like to allow the system engineer to do his thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to like
But you're also a very hands-on guy. You like
am.
getting in.
But at the same time, I'm manipulative as hell, isn't it? Like, I'm a hands-on guy, but I'm like, no, you do it.
Yeah.
No, you do it. I'll do it.
Just note that I would do it.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm Schmidt. No, this audio Schmidt.
Yeah.
The
I think I need a new title for this movie or this interview.
yeah, audio Schmidt.
Audio Schmidt.
That's terrible. How long did
This is the part that we cut out.
Yeah, no. So tuning, I like the system engineer to do what he wants.
Okay.
I want them to know what I want, but then to interpret it their way, because obviously they're gonna take a lot more care of details than I don't want to go through every detail they're doing, but I want to be like, look, man, here's my result. Here's what I'm looking for. We're at the start of the tour, and then we'll fine tune it, because I'll just tell them like, no, this was not it, or yeah, this is great. Do this more, right? Traces are helpful. I'll give him a curve that I'm like, I'm kind of looking for this curve, and he'll be like, great, because that's objective. That's like, I can see this. I can just do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Subjective though is, do I like it?
Yeah.
And that's hard. How do you teach somebody subjectivity? Like, how do you
Yeah.
teach somebody, I like this, but I don't like this?
Yeah.
You don't like a snare drum I like something you don't like. My approach to tuning is, what's my program material, right? Like, I'm doing Brett's live show. I listen to his records. I mix this, literally switching back and forth from his records as much as I could translate it, because obviously some things don't. But I'm trying to get his CD to translate, because what I've learned is people are driving to these concerts and listening to his CD in the car. They want to hear that when they get here. They don't want some new reinvented, at least not for this. Maybe some bands you do, like Grateful Dead, you're like, oh, I want to hear them jam for 10 minutes. Yeah. That's not this crowd, right? They want to hear their favorite songs, loud vocal, they want to sing along. That's it. And they want to have fun doing it. So when I tune, I just play songs that get me to a point where his CD sounds like it sounds normal. So I'm playing full range, like just full big pop tunes, things that I'm like, here's what I'm aiming for. Here's the volume, here's the high end I'm aiming for the whole record, here's the low end I am for the whole record. Let me just check with this. And I don't do that much. I don't sit there and start like crazy output, like just start tanking every EQ or anything. I just try to get it at a nice place, because what I don't want to do is touch my console. I know that's the wrong thing to think, like for a lot of people. I worked hard to get this mix to sound exactly like when I can print them a board tape and be like, here's your CD, as best as I can make it, right?
Yeah.
Here's your CD. So I want to make the PA do the work, which DMB is so good that you can make the PA do the work. You can be like, I don't want this low end. I want it back here. I don't want it here. I want high end here. Like, you can make that PA do the work, and it's still phase coherent. Like, it's still really phase coherent. So, that's really my approach to it.
So I want to ask you a couple personal questions, specifically in regards to touring, because I have quite a few touring people who watch this, and I know that touring life can be a little bit of a struggle sometimes. You're on the road a lot. I think a lot of people glamorize it, running sound and being on tour with all these cool bands, but the reality is it can be lonely. Accountability can be tough. And it's a tough job. And you're gone on holidays, you're gone on weekends. It's tough on family life. How do you keep your sanity through all this? How do you keep a sense of normalcy with that? And I think we both know several people that have, fallen to, some dark times and even just decided to end it. It's tough. So I guess my question to you is, how do you keep your sanity through all this? How do you keep a positive mindset and the love for the craft?
Man, there's no one answer. It's just It's an ever evolving thing for, I think, for everybody. That's the conversations I have with my friends. I mean, it's getting older. That's what everybody talks about. It's how do you just stay happy?
Yeah.
I think for me personally, physical health, eating right. I know it sounds lame, but if I don't feel good, I mean, that's already from the start. Like, you're downhill from there, right? Like, I've had terrible days where I feel great physically, but it's a terrible day, right? Like, thank God I felt great, like, physically, right? So, working out regularly, eating regularly, like actually caring about what time I go to bed, caring what time I wake up, make sure I get enough sleep, sleep in a shower, and like one meal. That's my joke. Is like, you guys give me those 3 things, you put me anything you want. Like, just crappiest gig of all time. As long as I get a shower, a meal, and I get to sleep at some point. Like, but that's where I kind of cut it off now too. Even, like, out of self-respect, some gigs will be very, not poorly planned, but just too difficult to be able to take care of yourself in. And you're like, I know that's not only going to go sideways, but I'm going to go sideways.
Yeah.
So it's like, how does that, I think you got to prioritize yourself. And I think a lot of people have trouble doing that in an industry where priorities are so shifty, and people have a lot of trouble, like, putting themselves first, which is hard when you work for an artist. You, like, are by nature, by job, putting other people first. How do you also put yourself first, you know? And I think a lot of artists will also respect that that's kind of the climate now, and like that's what needs to be done because they're out here with us. They need to take care of themselves too. Yeah. It's just like my artist, he works out a bunch. He did a whole like workout thing during COVID, or like after COVID, right after COVID, he did like a whole like challenge because I don't remember what it was called, but he was like, man, I need to work out. I know what we're gonna do for socials. I'll get some celebrity guy to come in, and he'd like kicked his butt for like 3 months, and he was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but he did it, and he's the type of guy, because that's the type of guy he is, right? So, and I respect that.
How do you work out?
I just follow a schedule, try to hit like 6 a week, 5 a week.
Do you bring your own stuff with you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, which most of my crew also tries to stay healthy and physical and stuff like that. And I think
you kind of do it as a team.
Yeah, we do. Usually it's 2 or 3 people doing it at once. Like,
that's awesome. Like,
it's a whole couple benches out there and everything. And I think it's really important because everybody's really. You notice the demeanor walking backstage was like, everybody's really calm.
Yeah.
It was like, shit could be on fire. Everybody's like, yeah, that's cool. It's fine. It's going to be great. Like, and I think, so that's, I think, the biggest thing, is staying healthy. And then finding people that understand. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to date somebody that's not cool with it, that's not going to go well for you, is it? Like, So just easier said than done, but
it
finding people that understand. Yeah. It's hard. It's a tough life.
What would you say is the best piece of advice you've got from one of your mentors?
On what? Mixing?
On mixing, yeah.
Mixing. I think it was, I don't want to say any names, but he told me, again, I'm not going to say names, I'll tell you the story though, but I was walking with him, I've been on tour with him for like 4 months. And
will he know when he sees this?
No, I hope not. But I was like, man, you got any notes for me? Like, I never really asked him. And when I swear to God, he pulled out a phone. He was like, yeah. He's been taking notes the whole time. And I was like, oh my God, how many things? He had so many things written down. I was like, what do you think of me? Am I terrible? Like,
am I that bad?
How many bad things do you want me to fix? Like, no, but he was, because he was like actually genuinely like, it was like a teaching moment for him. And he's incredible. But like, he really was like, man, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. And he was writing it down, which is like, thanks for taking the time, actually. Yeah. But it was just funny in the moment because he was like, yeah, I got like 40 things. And I was like, holy crap. It's like, damn, I need
First off, let's talk about showers.
Stuff like that, yeah. Nothing personal. That's the other list. No, one of the biggest things he told me was like, why do you start your sound check? Why do you start your mix over every day? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, why do you open up and go, let me touch, kick, snare? And I was like, damn, why do I do that?
Interesting.
So I don't now, and I've had the best results of my life. Like, I make sure it's right for this. Again, make the PA do the work. I used to literally open up and be like, kick, let's tune it to the room and just tank everything, right? And then snare, let's do whatever. And he was like, I watched him every day, and I did not know how he did it, how he could do it at first, but now I'm the same guy. He would just unmute his console and cross his arms and be like, I refuse. During sound check, and just let it all roll. And then during show, if he's like, now I need to make a change in action. If I need the snare to be a little bit more low end on the song, I'll do it right now during the show because I know this is when it's the real thing.
So that's an interesting point that you make, and I want to touch on that a little bit more because that's one big different aspect from touring to say a club gig or a church gig, a lot of people do that. They start from kick and work their way to snare and ways. Could you explain that to people who are maybe a little newer? Simplify that into why would you tune a PA than just tuning this? Because the stuff's right there.
Right. But
Why
it's
would you
also
do that?
situational though, right?
Sure.
If I have it recorded, I have the ability to have
Yep.
virtual sound check. I can carry, this doesn't have to be necessarily the same PA, but like I have the ability to carry the same PA. Those are already two things that like get me to a ridiculous spot that's
Yep.
already like, it'd be really hard to be a bad sound guy at that point, right? But if you're in a club and you're like, well, here's a desk I've never seen before.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and so like those are already written how they are. But
Absolutely.
if you have the ability to have virtual sound check, why start over every day? You
Yeah.
literally can work on it. You can take it, does it shop, whatever, dump it in between shows and be like, something went bad here. Let me literally press play, highlight, and listen to this one thing for 4 hours till I figure out exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I know all of it now. I know what they play. I know what it sounds like. As long as we mic it the same way, and this is what we work on during the day, is making sure it sounds the way we want it to sound.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
you should already know, and that's the diligence of it, I think.
So you also wear multiple hats on this.
Yeah.
You're also the PM.
Yeah.
PM stands for
Production manager.
production manager. Now, one of the people I talked to was a tour manager / front of house. What does that mean, production manager? And then how does that affect your TM, not tour manager, I'm sorry, your front of house? Do you feel like those kind of clash sometimes?
They
you
do.
feel like they
Well, it clashes
explain to people
because,
first off, what is a production manager?
in charge of all things production. I think the joke, or like the simplest way of saying it is, the tour manager gets us to the door, and once I'm in the door, then it's my job. And then once we leave the door, it's
That's
back to
good,
his
I
job.
like that.
Yeah. But once it's in the door, it's all things me. Lighting, ultimate decision, video, like audio. Barricades, how the crowd's gonna be set up, like all the stuff, right? It's all part of the production. And things I don't handle, like I don't handle VIP or I don't handle catering or hospitality. It's usually should be tour manager or but people do their own thing. This could be split however anybody wants to do. This is just how we do it on our tour. But like I said with my system engineer, I do the same thing with my guys. I want to empower them to be proud of what they do. And I think a lot of PMs do the same thing. I mean, why would I micromanage everything?
Yeah.
If you're not happy to be here and not hyped to be like, look how I plugged this rack in. Like look how clean it is. Like look how my gear is amazing. Look how my show, I programmed this. And I'm like, then why are you the lighting guy? If you don't like the stuff you're doing, don't be here, right? Somebody else will want to be here. So all my guys are pretty self-sufficient. I just come in to be the bad guy or make big decisions. And it's all a team effort anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not my show, it's my artist's show. So if he doesn't like it, it doesn't matter what the rest of us like, right? So, which usually he's really cool about everything because we hired a team and everybody's good. So it's not like we're fixing bad things, it's just little things here and there. But when it comes to front of house, there's a lot of times where I'm right here and I need to be somewhere else. And so there goes my TM stepping in to figure something out that should be my job, but I'm not, I'm right here. And it's during shows. During shows is a big one. If I'm right here at the desk, where's the PM? Like, not somewhere it's accessible.
Yeah.
And
You can't leave here to go PM.
Yeah, I can't do that. So there's been a thing, and there's a point where I think every guy who's ever dueled, gigged, if it got big enough, it's like, well, you can't anymore.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like irresponsible to do both. But,
So let me ask you this.
uh,
When it gets big, not when it gets big, but when that time comes, which direction do you think you take?
I mean, I'm obsessed with gear, so probably this.
You nerd.
I'm a nerd. If you ask me about video, I'll be like, ugh.
Yeah.
What do you think about this compressor? Well, how much time do you have? No, so it's probably this, which I like PMing. It's cool. I like, because I'm a control freak, so that like appeases my little lizard brain in terms of control and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, there's gonna be a moment where you're like, all right, you're not here enough for this. We need somebody specialized. I'm like, all right, great, do it. I'll be right here. So.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for walking us through this. Thank you for letting me in your camp, and I really appreciate you.
Yeah,
I know you got
absolutely.
a lot of things to keep up to, but I appreciate you. If people want to follow you on social media or get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Instagram. I don't actually have a Facebook.
Okay. What's your Instagram?
Audio Diehl. My last name, audio, and then my last name.
Okay.
Easy. I'm always on the road, so I'm not really that much of a social media person, but every now and then.